Hi everybody, welcome to Pensacola Rules. Here's what we're talking about today. Ford chassis on Class A motorhomes, Ford F53 chassis. That's what a lot of Class A motorhomes are built on. We've got a 2003 Jayco Forenza, and it's built on a Ford F53 chassis. And one of the things that we noticed when we started traveling was there is a lot of sway. And I mean, every time a 20-mile-an-hour wind blows, I'm fighting the wheel. It was white knuckle all the time. Really started to make me wonder how I was going to take this thing across the country. And so what I did was I went ahead and started doing some suspension work. And one of the things that I found out was there is what's called a cheap handling fix, and I'm sure everybody's heard about it. It's all over the internet. Basically all it is the sway bar. Sway bar drops down, and where it drops down on the sides, it has a connecting rod that comes down and attaches to it. And that connecting rod goes up and attaches to the frame. What Ford did when they designed this thing, what they did was they made two holes in the end of this thing, in the end of the sway bar. And they put it in the most conservative hole. And that hole, with that hole, depending on the chassis, some people say they don't have any problems with it in the original hole. Other people are like me and they have problems with sway. And so what we found out was if you switch that to the more aggressive hole, if you move that, right now it's in, when it comes up from the factory, it's in the farthest hole, the closest hole to the end of the sway bar. If you move it up to the next hole up, what that does is that tightens up the suspension tremendously. I mean, the difference was day and night. Now the one in the back, I went and I disconnected both sides and I went to reconnect them, and it was working way too easy. There was almost no tension on that bar. And I got to looking back, and of course it's dark underneath there. You know, I was doing this in the evening, and I look over to where on this, what it does is it attaches, it's got two clamps that go around bushings that attach to the frame. And the bushings around the sway bar. So you got the sway bar, you got the bushings around it, and you got a clamp that mounts to the frame. Those bushings were toast. They were gone. I mean, they literally, from the looks of it, they melted away. There was like some rubber scum that was around the bar there. I only got around to getting those ordered. I got them in. Now we've got to go out and replace it. The weather forecast called for 47 degrees today. It's not 47 degrees today. It's about 34. But from the looks of the weather going forward, this is January in Kansas, and it's 34 degrees out there right now, and 34 degrees is not horrible compared to what it could be. So we're going to go ahead and get it done today. Okay, so here's what we're trying to do is we've got the bushings that need to go over the sway bar, but unfortunately, let me flip this around here. These bushings, they have a split at the bottom. It's easier to see on this one. You got a split at the bottom, but they've got to get as wide as this hole here, and this is stiff urethane material. Okay, this is not going to slide easily over that. So what we're going to try to do is apply man's favorite friend, fire. Yep, we're going to boil them, see what happens. Okay, well, we got them spread open, and I just stuck them over an old timer that I had just to kind of keep them spread up until I can get them out there. I'm assuming once they start to cool off that they're going to be a little harder. They weren't super hot, they just warmed up enough that I could pry them with my fingers, so I don't think I've done any damage to them. Looks like they squeezed out a little bit right there, but that should all squeeze back in once the bracket's over them. So we're going to take it out to the rig and see if we can't get them on that bar. Okay. Let's see if that'll go on there now. There we go. All you do is take the old ones off, slip those in, and I'm making it sound easy. I promise you, it ain't. All right, well, we got her done. It was not as easy as I thought, and I apologized. I've looked at the footage, and I really should have took a tripod down with me so you could really see what we were doing. The basic idea of it's pretty simple. You've got a sway bar, you've got two clamps that go over two urethane bushings that go around the bar and clamp it to the frame. The problem was I did not anticipate how much having it up on jack so I could get under it was going to tweak it. What I did was I took it completely down and then just put the rear jacks down and jacked up the rear end straight up. That took a lot of the tension out, but it was still a booger. One of the nuts that are behind those beams, those nuts, one of them had they're welded on, they're tack welded on, and one of them had busted loose. And so I had to get in behind there with a pair of pliers and actually a clamp and get that held in place while I was screwing it in. And like I say, they're never going to line up exactly right. And I was scared to death that on the passenger side that I was stripping the bolts because they didn't seem like they were going in quite straight. And I think what actually happened, I think the nuts in behind had tweaked in. So they weren't straight. They went on a little crooked. It is attached. It is all torqued down. I'm anxious to take it out for a spin, but the weather's been really crappy. It's getting crappier going forward. We're supposed to have a high of like 16 degrees. But just real quickly, I would recommend anybody that's got an older F53 chassis, get under there, take a look. You can't miss it. The sway bar on these is right in front of the rear axle. So if you go back there and look, and just look at the bushings. The bushings they originally came out with were rubber. The ones that they sell now are urethane. Really the only thing you have to remember to do is be sure that you lubricate them. A lot of people are a little worried about doing that sheep handling fix. I gave you just a little quick look at it, but really it's that simple. I mean, it's basically just moving the bolts from one hole to another. I have yet to find a post anywhere on any of the forums where anybody had problems with doing this. I mean, it's just the common logic is, well, if they hadn't intended for those holes to be used, why are they there? And that's true. But it does make a huge difference as far as handling. I used to have to white knuckle this thing, and now when I drive, it's really not that hard. I also put a reflex steering stabilizer on the front. And that helps. I don't know that it's a huge help. It's one of those preventative things, because if you ever blow a tire up there, or if you get a really strong wind gust, what it does is it brings you back to center. It's basically a shock absorber, and it doesn't let your steering wheel just jerk. But that's it. I appreciate you guys joining us. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Love it if you liked the video. I've got some more projects coming up. We're going to be doing installing an air conditioner here pretty soon too. So please join us. Thanks.